Hello everyone, my name is Jesse Morano and I teach high school in an emotional disturbance-based classroom. Over the last 4 years, I've had the opportunity to work closely with English learners who bring an incredible cultural knowledge, resilience, and multilingual strengths into our space. Today I want to talk about what an asset-based mindset really looks like in practice, especially at the high school level, and how we can intentionally leverage students' culturally and linguistically strengths while building strong home and school connections. So first I'm going to talk about the cultural influences on teaching and learning. So culture shapes how students communicate, how they show respect, how they participate, and even how they process information. In my classroom, I've had students who were raised in homes where listening quietly is a sign of respect, while others were raised in cultures where active discussion and storytelling are valued. So if I interpret quietness as disengagement, I miss the bigger picture. Cultural competence means recognizing our own cultural lens and adjusting instruction to connect with students' lived experiences. Diaz-Rico explains that language, culture, and academic development are interconnected. We can't separate them. In my room, that means we're analyzing literature or solving math problems. I encourage students to connect to it with family experiences, community perspectives, or real-life problem solving. That shift alone increases engagement. Next, I'm going to talk about the role of culture in language acquisition and creating inclusive environments. Cultural directly impacts language acquisition. Students take risks with language when they feel safe and valued and a rapport is built. In an emotional-based classroom, emotional safety is everything. I normalize mistakes, I model sentence stems, and I even try learning phrases in students' home languages, not perfectly, but intentionally, to show vulnerability. To create an inclusive environment, I focus on visual representation, student cultures reflected on walls as in materials, structured interaction, which is defined roles during group work, and explicit teaching of discussion norms. When we teach expectations instead of assuming students understanding them, language growth becomes more accessible. Supporting and celebrating cultural diversity and leveraging home language, some strategies I use include multilingual word walls, allowing bilingual brainstorming, and incorporating cultural relevant examples into lessons. Mull et al. Describe funds of knowledge, which reminds us that families hold rich intellectual resources. I've had students explaining budget strategies to me based on how their families manage finances. That's not even off topic. That's academic strength as far as I'm concerned. Encouraging students to think of their process in the home language before producing English responses strengths comprehension. Bilingualism is not a weakness, it's a cognitive flexibility. Next, we're going to talk about the responsiveness to strengths, needs, and identities, supporting English learners. English learners are not a one-size-fits-all. Some are strong verbally but struggle with academic vocabulary. Others may have interrupted schooling. Some receive special education services along with language support. In my classroom, I try to scaffold heavily on chunked instructions, and then visual supports as always, including schedules and whatnot. Pre-teaching vocabulary, I like to front load that. Sentence frames and structured choices. It's all about giving the kids a choice, and then we develop from there. For students with both language and emotional regulation needs, predictability reduces anxiety. When students feel stable emotionally, they're more willing to engage linguistically. Now I'm going to talk about the social and emotional needs of classroom routines. Understanding social, emotional, and cultural needs shape classroom routines. I don't assume eye contact equals respect. I don't assume silence equals defiance. We build community through restorative circles and structured check-ins. Students can express themselves in English or their home language when appropriate. When students feel seen culturally and emotionally, academic growth follows. Language development thrives in environments where identity is affirmed. As far as the home, community, and funds of knowledge with the home and school connections, family and community practices deeply influence language learning. The funds of knowledge framework reminds us that in families, they possess valuable knowledge systems. Entrepreneurship, craftsmanship, caregiving, problem solving, a few examples. When I connect assignments to home experiences, students show deeper understanding. Instead of asking what's missing, I ask, what does this family already know? It's important to build strong partnerships with the family engagement as well. Strong partnerships require clear, respectful communication. That includes simplified and translated communication when possible, positive phone calls, to home. They don't always have to be negative. The positive ones matter. Highlighting student strengths and encouraging home language literacy. Research supports that maintaining home language strengthens overall language development. I've seen students light up when their culture is recognized academically. I mean, this is a big thing in my room. It shifts the narrative from remediation to empowerment immediately with these kids. In closing, an asset-based approach is about expectation. I expect my ELs to succeed because I see their multilingualism, resilience, and adaptability as strengths. When we shift from asking what do they lack to what do they bring, we transform outcomes. At the high school level, especially in emotional complex settings, this mindset isn't optional, it is essential. Thank you. Have a good day.